Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. Well, it's coming down to the end of 2024. Christmas is just around the corner from when I'm filming this. And, it's always the time where I reflect about a lot of the games, a lot of the video games that I used to play, some of the games that I loved as a kid. The Nintendo NES era was an interesting era because there was a lot of great games that came out. There's a lot of games I spent countless hours playing. Even and I'm kind of thinking about I did a video series where I talked about like the hardest NES games and the easiest NES games, and neither one of those really mattered when it came to what I wanted to play. I mean, yeah, there was games like Dragon Warrior and Simon's Quest that were difficult games that took a lot of time and patience and stuff. But for some reason, I always seem to go back to those games. I always seem to like to play them, throw them in every once in a while, and just revisit them. But as I was thinking about it, I'm like, there's some games where they're hard, they're difficult, they're whatever that I used to play a lot, and I haven't touched them, and I kind of don't want to. So I thought about this. I'm like, let's talk about the five games, the NES games that I don't really want to play anymore. I'm not going to play anymore. I might, but I don't know. At this point, I don't know if I will. So let's go with number one. And this is an interesting one. Star Tropics. I loved this game when I bought it. I found it, I still remember the day I went on this hunt to find an NES game. I just completed Zelda, the first game, Legend of Zelda. I just completed it. And I wanted to find a game that was similar to it. And I went to a department store that was selling some Nintendo games. And I was looking at their display case, and I saw this game, and I'm like, what could I take a look at that? I looked at the back, I'm like, that kind of reminds me of Zelda. So I bought it. And I'll tell you, I had a heck of a time playing this game. And, I even, a couple of years back, I tried to even play it again, and I had a heck of a time trying. But back in the day, I really put the dedication into it. And I loved this game. I thought it was great. I'm like, this game is brilliant. It's not just like Zelda. I mean, obviously it's got its differences, but it had some great additions to it that was not Zelda-like. I really liked the fact that I had to grab the letter that was in the box and dip it in some water to get a code to put it into the game. That was, like, to me, that was just brilliant. But the thing is, this game is hard as nails. And it's like, when you start to play it, it is rough. I mean, the enemies are tough. The end bosses are hard. You only got this crappy yo-yo most of the time as a weapon. All the other weapons, you have to get these, like, power-ups and stuff. It's a hard game. And when you get to the final level, to get through it, it's just brutal. And so I just kind of, like, I don't even want to. I don't even want to. And on that note, a similar game, which, again, I was looking for a Zelda game, Ultima. This is Exodus Ultima. I think there was another one. I don't know if there was a third one or not. I don't know. But this was the one. I remember I went to a video game booth at an exhibition we have every year. And they had a video game booth. At that time, when I was a teenager, there was a bunch of booths that sold video games. Today, it's not so much. But, that back then, there was a lot of them. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a game that's kind of like Zelda. And the guy was like, yo, you want a game like Zelda? This is kind of like Zelda. And he showed me the box, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. And I bought it, and I came home, and I started playing it, and I got frustrated. I got frustrated with the attacking. It's very RPG-like. Zelda is more like, I guess they call them like an action RPG or something. It's more like, action. Whereas this is more like the, put in the stats kind of thing. Sort of like the Dragon Warrior game, but I think this has got a much more frustrating attack mechanic because you got to go through all these different guys, you got all these multiple characters, and I got somewhere in it. I didn't get very far, but I did get somewhere in there. And I got to a point where I'm like, I'm lost, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. It's a great game, but and I know that this is based off of, like, I think, like, There was the DOS game on the computer, you know, PC, DOS. I think this was one of the games. I'm not sure. It was like the third game or something like that. But anyways, yeah, I got so frustrated. I'm just like, the thought of putting this back in my Nintendo, not there. Now this one's kind of an interesting one because it's RoboCop. I like RoboCop. I love the arcade RoboCop. I probably put a bajillion quarters into the RoboCop machine. Whenever I went to the arcade, like I always went to the mall, the local mall, and grabbed a slice of pizza, and then would go into the local arcade that was in the mall, and the RoboCop machine was there, and I always pumped quarters. And even the exhibition I just spoke about, they had an arcade there, and there was a RoboCop machine, and I would pump quarters in there. So naturally, when I knew that there was a RoboCop for the NES, I had to have it. I already played it on the Commodore 64 as well at the time, and I figured this can't be bad. And I bought it, and I played a ton of this game. I played it a lot. I completed it a lot. And I think that just got me to the point where I'm like, you know what? I've played it just so darn much. I don't want to play it again. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I did a stream of this like a few years back. I tried to do like a RoboCop stream, and you know, the passion wasn't there anymore. It was like, you know, I've done it, been there. The game's okay. It's not the arcade quality, but it is there. I mean, it's an okay game. It's a nice platformer game, but it's a game that I just don't really feel like revisiting. I don't know why. I just haven't had the passion for this. I'm not saying I'll never do it, but I mean, just right now, I just don't feel it. Now this one here, this is an interesting one. Flintstones. This is the rescue of Dino and Hoppy, not the other one that's expensively rare and like crazy prices. This was I guess the first one that came out. I still remember going into a store in the mall that was selling some video games, and I saw the cover, and I'm like, Flintstones? There's a Flintstones Nintendo game? I bought this, and I went home, and I literally just played it until I completed it. And I'm like, that was so cool. The Jetsons appear in there. It's a platformer game. You know, Fred is going around, he's hopping on things, he's swinging on stuff, and you know, I got to a point where I completed it, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And I kind of, you know, every once in a while I would throw it back in there and play a little bit of the first level and just kind of lose interest. I don't know what it is. I don't know. You know, I love the Flintstones. One of my most favorite cartoons. Like, I love Looney Tunes. I love Flintstones. I love, you know, all the classics. So you'd think I would love this game, but I don't know what it is. I couldn't keep it up. Once I completed it, I was just kind of like, you know what? I just really don't feel like playing this. Like I said, I did dabble in it. I'd start it up. I'd play a little bit of the first level and just kind of turn it off and walk away. So this one easily kind of made my list of games I just really don't want to play anymore. I don't know why. You know, there's a lot to it. I love that Fred has that little club thing and he smacks things, and there's Barney in there. It's a great game. It just lost me on the list. And the final game, which is in the same vein as the Flintstones, is Bart versus the Space Mutants, the Simpsons. Yeah. I mean, I love this game because, you know, I remember when I got it, my parents went on vacation. They went somewhere and they came back and they brought it. I guess they bought it wherever they went, came back and they gave it to me. And I was like, I didn't even know this game even existed. And I was always a Simpson fan. I was a Simpson fan from when they used to just run on the, you know, what was it? The original show it was on. And before it even became its own show. I'm struggling to remember the name of that. But I was a big Simpson fan. And my mom knew that. She knew I was a Simpson fan, and she knew I liked Nintendo. Obviously, I played the NES. And she found this game, and she bought it. And this game is rough. It is hard. I mean, the levels are tough. It kind of borrows the theme of They Live. I think it was like the movie with Rowdy Roddy Piper in there, where he puts on the sunglasses and he can see the alien thingies. You know, it kind of borrows from that. But it's a platformer game. It's tough. Like each level just gets harder and harder and harder. And yeah, like I think there's like areas where you got to jump to find secret items and stuff. It just gets brutal. And I remember being able to complete it at one point in my life, and since then I haven't been able to. I was able to get up to like 2-3 levels and just be like, okay, I'm done, I'm out, I'm tapping it out, I'm tapping it out. This in my in my opinion can be just as rough as playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which I almost wanted to include in this list, but you know, I decided to go with this one because, you know, I love the Simpsons. The Simpsons have always been my thing. Maybe I haven't been a big fan of the last few seasons. You know, it just seems out of touch with me. It seems like they're repeating a lot of things. But I love the first few seasons. It'll always have a place in my heart as being a great, you know, comedy cartoon show. It'll always be there. But anyways, yeah, I thought I would just show this off as my top 5 NES games that I don't think I'll ever want to play again. And I want to hear what your 5 are, or, you know, 3 or 2 or whatever. Throw some games at me, which games you used to play when you were younger and would probably never want to revisit again, because I'm sure we have a huge load of games that we probably will never touch. They just look like great shelf candy or something like that. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. Throw some comments down below, as always. And we'll talk to you later.